Well, I'm excited today to introduce you all to one of my coaching clients that we've been working with for about 3 months here, Nicole from Second Family Dog Lodge in Carlisle, Saskatchewan. So if you could tell me, Nicole, just quickly, a little bit about, how long you guys have been in business, what kind of services you offer and so forth.
For sure. December will be 4 years that we have been in business. We initially opened just to be a small, we had 10 rooms in our facility. We were just a small boarding facility because it was a need in our small town in our area. Since then, we've done an addition and expanded so that we could house more boarding dogs. But we did that right before COVID hit.
Right.
So then naturally over COVID, we had to adapt our business a little bit and started to take on daycare dogs, which was something that we never actually initially set out to do. We wanted to be a boarding facility and only a boarding facility. But over that year of COVID, we kind of had to do the best we could with what we had. So we turned into a bit of a mix of a daycare and boarding facility. And then since then, we have maintained the clientele who want the doggy daycare service. So This was our first summer of being a full-blown doggy daycare and boarding facility.
Awesome. So then, before we started working together, which was around May, what kind of motivated you and the business to reach out initially to me, if you guys recall?
I just remember in April, we had a couple instances. My parents started up this business as like a semi-retirement project.
Right.
And then because of COVID and how things have ramped up, it has turned into much more than a semi-retirement kind of idea or dream. And so my parents were just like, we know that this business can generate some great revenue. We know that it has the potential. We don't know how to get it there. And kind of the setup in the system that we were running just wasn't really working at the time. And so I had kind of seen your content and your stuff and thought, you know what, if I'm going to make an honest run of this, as the manager and try something new, we may need to, just flip this on its head and bring someone from the outside to kind of share their wealth of knowledge with us to say, either, yeah, you do have the potential with your facility to be successful with this, or no, this isn't going to work for you guys. You need to revamp or revisit or close up shop or whatever. So we were just kind of at that breaking point where we were like, we either need to make a really good run of this and this is going to be super successful, or we're going to shut our doors and call our quits. It was just a little bit, we were in that middle zone of, it was too much to make it worth it when we weren't making the money that we thought it should be making. And so something had to give at that point.
So then were some of your team or the owners or whomever like suffering from burnout and fatigue and overworked or overwhelmed, or what did that look like?
Yeah, no, for sure. Of course, my parents had started this, 4 years ago, December, and I had come on full time, and we had a couple extra staff with us, but at the small capacity, that was kind of what we were running. And what we wanted to run was that we could maintain it and kind of run it as a mom and pop shop, a small family business. But then with the addition and throughout COVID, and now with the dynamic of boarding and daycare, between myself and my parents, we were just spread way too thin, and we didn't quite have the right people in the right places, assuming the right roles to make it successful at that point. So definitely, my dad was a little bit less involved in the day-to-day operations, was more on the business back end of things. Mom was super involved in the day-to-day business side and was completely burnt out from that. And I was just nicely coming off of mat leave this time last year, essentially. And so I was kind of easing back into it very gently, but different sort of burnout for me, trying to juggle mom life and coming back into work and all of that kind of stuff. So, a year into it of trying to kind of muddle our way through it and make it work, there was definitely a couple of us that were ready to just pack her in and call her quits, because it was just the burnout and the struggle was definitely being felt by the entire my parents and I, that upper management. And then obviously that trickles over into our staff, right? They're
Sure.
frustrated and they're confused and, stressed out and that kind of stuff because the day-to-day stuff is just not flowing well or making a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. And I remember too, if you don't mind me sharing, is that yourself and your mom, who is one of the owners, both reached
Yeah.
out to me on the same day. Like
We
coincidentally,
both
you
seen the
guys
same
both had no
post.
idea. And you're both like, yes, Derek, what's going on? What could
Yeah.
you help? And that was
Yeah.
really interesting to me because it's never happened before. And I was like, wow, you guys are on the same frequency. You're just not aware of it. But
Yeah.
because I remember chatting with your mom too before we involved you in the process, and she
Mhm.
was tired. Like
Yeah.
now, I guess the question is how much is your mom actually working in that business?
Not really at all. Like aside from popping over to do some, I don't know, like quality assurance checks and make sure things are still, up to that standard that she had set initially, and kind of
Right.
giving me a little bit of feedback on that end, but like
So
maybe
3,
once.
4 or 5 hours a week.
I would say she's maybe there once or twice a month, and it's a quick
All
pop
right.
in, and she enjoys it too, because then it's more of a like, she checks in with the staff and she's like, hey, how's the day, what's
Sure.
going on, and then she's like, hey, see you later, and and
Well,
that's kind
and
of
do
the
you
extent of
remember
her
how many
involvement.
hours she was working?
Oh, she was, yeah, she was over there anywhere from, sometimes she was over there for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, like off and
So
on.
let's just pretend 50 to 70 hours a week, minimum 50 hours a week. She went from working within 3 months from
Yeah.
50 hours a week to 3 to 5 a month.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a huge win in and of itself for your mom, and your dad, presumably. But anyways, so that's awesome. Okay. So that was a big success. So then what positive results have you guys, experienced since we began working together?
I would say, and even just to add to that note, so for June, July, and August now, like, yeah, mom's maybe putting in 3 to 5 hours a week. Dad and I are doing
Sure,
the odd
20 hours a
business
month.
meeting. Yeah, dad and I are doing the odd business meeting just kind of as a check-in, how are things going? But then this has also been the first 3 months of business where my parents are actually like getting, like, they were never taking a paycheck before today, and they were
Oh,
like, it was kind of like any money that was left at the end of the month, they just left it in there to continue to maintain itself, because we knew we were going to have slow months or bad times or whatever, and so they were never getting a paycheck or anything like that from the business. And so for the last 3 months, as the manager, we've been paying them rent, so to speak. And so not only
right.
has this been 3 months of their hours like virtually cut down to nothing, but they're also, as the business owners, actually getting a portion of that back now of the investment that they've
A
put in. So
return.
yes, I think that's been huge for them. They're kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, that they can be fairly hands off and uninvolved in the day-to-day operations, but can
Right.
still be getting that return on investment of what they've established over there.
Oh, for sure. That's huge, because I talk to business owners frequently that are in a similar position as you guys were then, where it's
Yeah.
like they're working 5 to 7 days a week, 8 to 12-hour days, and they're just run down and they're not even paying themselves very much. One I had talked to wasn't paying themselves anything. And I was like, how much longer can you sustain this?
Yeah.
Like, this is a lot of work for not a lot of return. But anyways, so that's awesome, of course. But beyond that, have you noticed any other positive results that you experienced from working together with the program that you were in with me? It was a 90-day program.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's only been 90 days, because it just feels like there's been so much growth in like a lot of areas
Sure.
for our business. I think, initially in the training, just the knowledge that I have, I'm 28 years old and don't have any really post-secondary education, but just the learning that I had on like the back end of what marketing is and how to look at those numbers and how to set those sales goals and do all of those kind of things. That was huge for me foundationally, to be like, okay, here's, what we're doing for the next 90 days.
Right.
And then from there, obviously, like the dog training and the understanding how to, do some of the daycare programming and those kind of things were like exciting, because it was like, cool, now I can see how this is going to implement to meet those sales goals and build off that foundation, and some of that kind of stuff. So that was initially really exciting for me. And then over and above that, month to month, our revenue has just continued to increase. And we've been able to hit sales numbers that we've never hit in our 4 years of business prior to this. And we've been able to maintain that over the 90-day period. So that has been huge for us. Cause like I said, when Mom and I both contacted you, it was kind of like, we're either making a run of this or we're done. And it was actually 3 really successful months of cool. We're going to make a run of this. Like, this is going to be good. And then I think probably the biggest win, I guess, for our entire facility is just seeing the way it's really pulled our staff together. Obviously with changing things and implementing new training and new operation stuff and implementing everything that we learned. I was a little bit hesitant initially because I was like, dang, this is going to be a lot for these guys. It's going to be like, oh, just more things to do and more, more checklists and more whatever. But all of our staff are really thriving in it. And they're equally as excited and motivated about the growth that they're seeing and the progress that they're seeing, not only in themselves and in the training that they're able to do with the dogs, but the growth with the dogs that we've had. So it's just such a multifaceted growth period for our team, back end management wise, getting my parents kind of removed from the day-to-day operations, seeing the financial growth, but then also tangibly, day to day, seeing the growth in the staff and the skill sets that we have and what we have to offer as a facility. To say that it was a 90-day program, it just kind of seems wild that was all that it was, just because of how much our facility has advanced in those 90 days.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's all incredible examples, increased revenue, helping business owners not have to work on the business every second of their free time and not get much of a return. And then also the staff cohesion and investment is huge, right? It's like, I like to equate it to when your team has an investment in the direction you're going, you guys are all paddling in the same direction instead of someone's back here pushing against it because they don't really know what's going on, and someone over here pushing on the opposite way, and you guys it's harder than you need to. So what I really try to do is help everyone get on the same page and break complicated problems down into bite-sized pieces.
Yeah.
Because another question I'd ask you is throughout the process, how much of it, even though it was only 90 days, but maybe felt longer, that you were more stressed than you were before you started the course?
I don't think there were many days that I was more stressed. I think there was days where I was nervous to execute, kind of what we had been training on or what we had been planning, and I just needed to implement. So I think there was days where, you have some nerves and some anxieties over how is this going to go and what's going to happen. But overall actual stress of holy crap, what are we going to do? And how are we going to make this work? And how do I fix these problems or put out these fires, or, that overwhelming stress of I can't handle this. I would say in those 90 days, I can't actually look back and think on any specific event that I would have felt those stresses on. I think it's been more so, I said, just an enjoyable 90 days of some of these anxious, nervous, hey, we're going to do this. And we were just, what happens? And it's been fun throughout the entire process, to be completely honest, just to see, what happens when you just kind of run with it and trust the guidance and just let it happen and don't fight against it. And it's actually been a lot of, even the stressful, anxious, nervous moments have been fun for us as a team.
For sure. Well, and that's the whole thing too, is sometimes it's that you stress, that stress that you might have had if you were playing sports earlier in life, where you're kind of nervous, but you're we're doing this and we'll see what happens. And then you do it and you're oh my God, it worked out really good. What was I so stressed about? And that confidence boost to be you know what, we're going to do this different thing that's maybe against what the industry does or something we haven't done yet. And then to see it come to fruition and be successful is super empowering. And it's one of the most exciting parts about, what I do to help business owners with this coaching is I love seeing people, kind of get out of their comfort zone and then destroy it and then make tons of progress and be like, see where you got to? That was only 90 days. Like,
Yeah.
imagine if you did this consistently, you could create and carve out whatever you want for your future. And to me, it's just super empowering to provide that guidance, assistance, and even potentially hope sometimes of being like, the world's your oyster, the sky's your limit. Like, what do you want to create? Let's systematically break it down into steps. And then people do it. So I wanted to bring it up because sometimes people get stressed with the idea of getting into coaching, thinking that, you know, maybe it's going to be harder than it is, but it's like the hardest part is saying yes.
Yeah.
And then it's way easier after that, after you're like, yeah, let's do it. And then you just follow the steps. Like, there's no, like, you don't have to like over analyze everything. Like, I'm there to assist and guide and, you know, help the people get exactly where they want. I don't know why I was just thinking of like a fishing guide, you know, like I know the lay of the land in this lake. I know where all the good fish are and the big fish are, and I know where the ones that don't bite are. Like, here, I'll show you. Let's go to this fishing hole and you're going to pull a bunch out. And they're like, wow, that was easy. But before, they were doing it on their own and they didn't have the tools, and they're trying to like fish for the wrong fish, and they got the wrong hook and bait and all these things. And it's harder than it has to be.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Okay, I won't take too much more of your time, but was there an unexpected or surprising result of working together? You might have already said it though. So if it was, we can skip this question, but was there anything that you're like, I didn't expect this to be part of it?
I don't think anything was super surprising on like, I didn't think this would be included in training, that side of things. But I do think like in terms of what I expected from the training, I think like the team cohesion and like the motivation and excitement from our staff, I think that definitely was kind of like just that added bonus that was not like, you know, when I look at the list of things that you could expect out of the training, or, you know, things that we're going to work on and focus on, that team cohesion was definitely huge for us. And kind of like even just this last month, it was like we planned 2 different days where like half the staff were going to work the one day while we did a fun day, and the other staff worked, and like we did it kind of like vice versa. And at the end of the, before they go back to school, we have like a whole like staff barbecue fun day thing planned out, because it just, the team is just super, they're just super united right now, and that's been super duper fun for us, just to see how everyone has kind of come together and worked together. And yeah, it's just been, so I think that for sure, on that end was just kind of that nice like bonus to the training. And I don't know if it would like really count as a surprise, but I just remember like reading or like listening to what you had talked about, where it's like, this is what the training involves, this is what it costs, but this is what I, this is kind of my guarantee, or like my return on investment, is that by the time you're done the training, you know, you will have like paid for the training itself and then some, right? Like that return on investment for what we were doing. And so like, admittedly, I think I was a little bit skeptical as to whether that would actually, like by the end of 90 days, be a genuine like goal. But I've been pleasantly surprised that like within the first month of training, I was like, holy crap, like within the first month, I was like, we have already paid for the training and then some, with what we've made in revenue. And like, we've never been able to do that before. So I guess that would like, for my, would be a little bit of a, like a shocking, like pleasant surprise. I know it's kind of one of those things that you had in the explanation of what the training was, but was definitely an area where I was like, but is this just part of a sales pitch? Like I was a little bit skeptical.
Well,
but
honestly, like I try to low explain it, because I'm like, I want to guarantee like this is at least, but my intention is that I hope it's a much higher rate of return within the program. And effectively, like what you said, the cost, like the return on investment of what you put out to me, versus what was returned, I think was about 5 to 6x.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
Yeah.
So that's significant. And I mean, you guys earned that because you kicked ass and you did all the things you were supposed to. So that's like awesome. And I strive towards that. So, I mean, that was one, actually the next question, which is probably the answer, is like, what would you tell someone that was, on the fence of considering join the program? It's like, well, get off the fence if you want to make a lot more than your return on investment in the 90 days. But
Well,
I'll leave that to you.
if you just like, even if you just want to get into it for the like support and goal of getting some financial like breathing room in your company or your
Stability.
ability, consistency, like whatever that word is for you, I mean, totally worth it. But then over and above that, just like, yeah, what you have in your toolbox after to continue on and to continue to grow as a business, and just all those added bonuses, right? Like, my parents being more removed from day-to-day operations, actually
Right.
getting an investment in their business, the team cohesion, the what we have to offer our community now in terms of dog training, like that's a huge bonus for us, and people are eating that up because we're one of the only facilities in our area and we weren't really equipped for that before, right? And I mean, there's no shortage of needing people to do obedience training or any of those kind of things with dogs. Like if it's
Mhm.
needed, got people driving, an hour and a half plus once a week to bring their dog for daycare training. So just all of those added bonuses on. So if you're only, even if you're only looking for the financial assistance, stability, all of that kind of stuff, worth it. Because you'll get that, but you'll get so much more out of the training,
Right.
financial, um, that financial assistance. And so then flip side, if you're in it because you're like, man, you know what, our team is struggling, our staff are burnt out, we need some new training on how to handle dogs, or, things to offer on that end of life, definitely get into that, because it's going to give you that. And, on top of all of that, it's going to give you those tools, and then the financial, I guess repercussion, or, whatever, the financial reward of putting that
Mhm.
investment into your team. So I think it just kind of, it goes, hand in fist, like they go together. Whatever
Right.
you're looking for your business, this program really is all encompassing and just kind of covers all of those bases. So whatever you're looking for, you're going to get that benefit from this training, and then some in some other aspect.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing. People usually come to me with a specific issue, and obviously I
Mhm.
want to treat that issue, but in the background, I'm like, we're going to do a whole bunch of other stuff that's going to be
Yeah,
really great and positive for you though, too. And then,
exactly.
they come out the other end like this and be like, well, there was this and there was that and there was the other thing. And we didn't expect that we were going to make this much money, but it's great. And I'm like, good, like spread the word. Like this is a
Yeah.
win-win for both of us. We both can help each other. And I think that's a great partnership that, we've been able to create. So to end the call, would it be fair to say that, throughout the program, I was able to assist you guys to bring in around like an additional $10,000 of revenue per month compared to
Yeah.
historically?
Yeah. No, that would be, yeah, that's accurate.
So 10 grand a month times 90 days, 3 months. Do the
Yeah.
math on that, everyone. Like that's pretty good return. Anyways, in any event, I'm really grateful that you took the time to jump on this call with me and share your experience, but I'm more grateful for the time that we spent together within the course and all the growth that I saw you witness firsthand with you in the business. Because like I said, it's so exciting for me to see people like go all in on something and just have amazing results. And you were one of those people. Like there was very little hesitation where I'm like, hey, you should do this. And you're like, okay, I'll do it. And then you did it and then you crushed it. And I'm like, all right, let's roll. Your capacity to grow and shift. And there's another word, but I can't think of it right now. Be flexible. It was super positive, but nimble. That was the word I was looking for. But it really allowed for you guys to create a lot of growth quickly. So, keep it
Mhm.
up. And the tools that I left you with are not going anywhere. You're still going to be able to continue to make this kind of revenue.
Yeah.
So that's another positive is like I teach our students like yourself of how to create consistent revenue streams and increase revenue streams. So it's like even after the course is done, you're still going to be at a similar revenue stream. It's not just like I take it all away and now you're back to where you were. So that's another positive aspect.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's about it. Unless there was anything else you wanted to add, we're done for the day, and I appreciate you.
Awesome. No, thank you so much for everything, yeah, that you've offered and trained us in, and looking forward to hopefully some more in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. It was my pleasure.
Awesome. Okay, thanks. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. You too.
Bye.